So, young man, you want to find out what the West was like? Well, she weren't ever tamed. She just got tired. My name's Silas McCrae, though most folks who lived long enough to remember call me Dust Eyes. Folks said I could see through the sandstorms and lies, which ain't far from the truth. Now I'm sitting here on the porch in a place the map barely bothers with, watching the horizon fade and thinking on the ghosts of the past. I rode through tumbleweed towns like Dark Rock and Red Falls, important places at the time, but now just ghost towns. I crossed paths with some folk whose names now echo like thunder. Some saints, some sinners, all myth wrapped in skin. There was John Wesley Harding. He had cold eyes. Shot a man for snoring, they say. I once saw him in Abilene, hands on his holsters like his pistols were hungry for blood. Sure, he was fast, but it was the silence around him that made folks twitch. Then there were the likes of Billy the Kid, a wild spark in the wind. A damn fool and a genius. Thought he was invincible till time caught up with him wearing a badge. Last I saw him, he was laughing through busted lips in a saloon brawl, swinging like the world was his to carve. Then there was Butch Cassidy. Now there's a man who danced with trouble, like it played a fiddle. He had charm, he had schemes, he had grit without venom. He once gave me a wink as his gang disappeared into Red Rock canyons, leaving the law sucking dust behind them. Then there were the ones that weren't just fire and lead. You had gals like Annie Oakley. Oh, sure, she weren't just a sharpshooter. She was thunder in a skirt and grace with a trigger. Saw her perform in Denver once. Could split a playing card edgewise midair. But what struck me wasn't the shot. It was the way she walked off the stage, like she'd never missed a thing in her life. Then there was Belle Starr. She rode like poetry written in gunpowder. Queen of the Outlaws, they called her. She wasn't kind, not exactly, but she wasn't cruel either. She had rules, even if the world didn't. She could sip whiskey with renegades and still make a marshal tip his hat. And me, I wasn't a legend. I wasn't a villain. I wasn't a saint. I was windblown and bloodied, riding fence lines, stealing moments of peace between shootouts and regrets. I buried friends and betrayed lovers. The West, she took more than she gave. She was brutal and beautiful, full of wild souls burned into time like a brand. And now, all I've got left are stories and the creak of this old chair.
Hello friends, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to take a look at a board game I purchased back in, I think, 2013 when it came out, called Western Legends. The game is designed by Hervé Lemaitre, and it's published by Colossal Games. Now this is strictly going to be a playthrough video. I'm not going to show you how to set up the game. I'm sure there's plenty of videos already out there that will do that. What we're going to do today is I'm going to play through this, obviously solitaire. I haven't developed any solitaire rules for this. I just want to play through this, find out how the game plays, and decide if we need to develop solitaire rules for it or not. Is it fun enough to play it where we're just controlling the characters independently, or does it demand that we have a solitaire set of rules? Now for this playthrough, I do have two upgrade packs, expansion packs. We have the Good, the Bad, and the Handsome, and Fistful of Extras. We're going to include those in the game. Along with, we're going to also use legendary tokens as well. Now I've set up the game for 3 players, so we'll be randomly choosing 3 characters to play. Now in addition, I'm also going to be incorporating the Man in Black variant. Now it says on here during setup that this is intended for only a 2-player game, but I'm going to add it in and just see if that maybe will help us out, since this is kind of a solo playthrough. Maybe that'll make it more exciting. Our first player is going to be Doc Holliday. He starts with $40 in cash, 2 poker cards, a revolver, and he does begin with 1 wound. In addition, we're going to also have their legendary cards available. If we're able to fulfill these, we'll earn draws of legendary tokens, which will generate some extra legendary points for us. Next up is Calamity Jane. She's going to start with $20 in cash, a revolver, and some provisions. She doesn't have any poker cards to start out with. And finally, we're going to be playing with Buffalo Bill Cody. He's going to start with a mule, 1 poker card, and a revolver. Game comes with some very nice flavor text about each of the heroes that we're going to be playing, and then on the front of the card has a special ability, and once we generate 5 legendary points, that special ability for that character will be activated. As per the setup, Doc Holliday, he's going to be the red player. He is going to start at the doctor's office in Red Falls. Calamity Jane is going to be the white player, and she's going to start in the general store in Red Falls as well. And finally, Buffalo Bill Cody, he is going to begin at the Macedo's Point Ranch, and he'll be the yellow player. In addition, we have the town sheriff. He's going to be in brown. We've got 6 gray bandits that are scattered around the board, as well as the man in black, and he'll be using the black color. Now the object of the game is for us to amass the most legendary points at the end of the game. The game will end once one of the characters reaches a pre-designated number of legendary points. Now at the bottom of the track is our legendary points track. All the characters and their colored cubes are going to start out at 0. As soon as one of them reaches 15 or more, that will institute the game end sequence. Each character is going to play through 1 additional turn, and then we'll add up the legendary points, and whoever has the most is going to be the most legendary individual in Western Legends. Now there's many ways to accumulate legendary points. We can gather those from being on the wanted track, on the marshal track, by amassing money, by gaining certain legendary items, by visiting locations on the board, and getting into gunfights with non-player characters and player characters. We can also earn legendary points for prospecting, getting gold. At the top of the board, we've got our general store, and that has all of the different items that we're able to purchase at the general store. In addition, on the right-hand side is a deck of cards, and those are legendary items. In addition, I'm going to be including the Bandit card variant, and what we've done is for 6 of these bandits that are around the board, they have a number on the bottom of the token, and we're going to use that number, and that's going to give these bandits a little extra flavor. It's got a gambler, a desperado, fugitive, a robber, a bandito, and a horse thief. Now, one thing that drew me to this game originally was the fact that you could characterize it as a sandbox game. You pretty much can do whatever you want to. Obviously, you're going to attempt to try to obtain those legendary points to win the game, but you can accomplish those, getting those legendary points in any way that you really choose. And that's kind of very enticing to me. Each turn is going to be broken into 3 phases. We've got a start of turn where we're going to acquire some assets. Then we have an action phase where we'll be able to take 3 actions, and then an end of turn phase. One of the very enticing mechanics in the game are these story cards. What will happen is during the game, if we're able to meet the criteria listed on the card, we're going to place one of our roundels on those cards. And then what we'll do is, once the prerequisite number of roundels are on a card, at the end of the turn we're going to flip that over and resolve the card, and we'll gain some benefits. And there's always some very interesting story text involved with each of those. As an example, in this setup we have end your turn at a location outside of town. Well, if we can do that, we'll be able to place one of our roundels on the card. Now we're playing a 3-player game, so we'll need to get 2 roundels to resolve the card. The other card is spend $80 or more in town with a single action. Okay. Now our first player has been randomly determined to be Doc Holliday. Now Doc is going to end up getting a special ability once he gets 5 legendary points. It says after you gain any number of wounds, draw 1 poker card. Wounds do not reduce your hand size. Well, he starts out the game with 1 wound, but that special ability is not active yet. Now each player also is going to have 3 of these legendary cards. And if we can solve these cards, we're going to be able to get a draw for a legendary token, and that will give us anywhere between 1 and 3 extra legendary points. So we'll take a look at the cards for Doc Holliday. The first one is discard 1 poker card after winning a fight in a town to complete this goal. Another one is discard 1 poker card after winning a game of poker at the Dark Rock Saloon to complete this goal. And then finally we have deposit 4 or more gold nuggets at the Dark Rock Bank to complete this goal. So it adds a little extra element into the game, giving you kind of a reason to go to certain locations. And that will all factor in to our decision making during the game. Now we'll take a look at Doc Holliday's starting poker cards. He starts out with 2 of them. He's got an Ace of Hearts and a 2 of Hearts. Okay. Now these poker cards are basically the primary mechanism in the game. They pretty much cover everything that you need. When you need to do something, the poker cards are pretty much at the heart of that, especially if you're going to be, like, say, into a gunfight, or if you're going to rob someone or the bank. The strength of the card is going to dictate how successful you're going to be. Each card also has some type of either action or bonus or response, and they can be played for that during the turn. Now in the case of this Ace of Hearts, that's a great card. That's the highest card you can get in the deck. It also comes with an action. We could use that during our action phase, spending an action, and it says here gain 1 marshal point or 1 wanted point. We also have this cheat card. It says if this card is played in a game of poker, you may treat this card as though it were any value. So that would be a good card to use, because we'd be able to use this as an Ace of Hearts card. And that's very strong. So in the case of Doc Holliday, he is going to be starting at the doctor's office in Red Falls. So I think probably our best bet would be to spend an action at the doctor's office. And that's going to allow us to heal our wounds. We're going to pay $10 to lose all of our wounds, and then we're going to draw a poker card for each wound lost in this way. So I think that's probably a good start for us. I think next we're probably going to try to move to the saloon, maybe play a poker game, since we've got those great cards to start out with. But our first step is the start of the turn, and we have to check if there were any start of turn effects that were active. Next we have the option of either gaining $20, drawing 2 poker cards, or gaining $10 and drawing a poker card. We also have to decide what weapon we're going to be holding and which mount we're going to be using if we have those. In the case of Doc Holliday, he simply has the revolver, so he'll be using that. And I think looking at the options that we have available to us, I think Doc is going to take $10 and one poker card. So we're going to give him $10 and another poker card and add that to his hand of cards. Now we can start taking our actions, and we have up to 3 actions. I think our first action will be to take a location action at the doctor's office, and we're going to be able to heal for a cost of $10. We'll pay the $10 and we can heal all of our wounds, and we'll gain an extra card for each wound that we heal. In his case, he has 1 wound, so we're going to move him to fully healed. For every wound that you have reduces your potential hand size. If you're unwounded, you can hold up to 5 cards. If you have 1 wound, it's 4. 2 wounds, it's 3. And 3 wounds, it's 2. So Doc has paid his $10 to heal, and he's got an extra playing card. We'll put the $10 back into the supply. Now he has 2 actions left. And I think what we're going to do is he's going to move. If you're unmounted, you can move up to 2 adjacent spaces. If you're mounted, it'll be the movement rate of whatever that transport is. A mule is 3, a horse is 4, and then you can also get improvements on those mounts as well. But for right now, Doc Holliday is going to move to the saloon. And as long as you are adjacent to that space, you can interact with the location. So Doc has used 2 of his 3 actions. His third action will be to interact at the saloon. And for $10, we can ante into a poker game and draw a poker card. So Doc is going to pay $10. Pay a 20 and we'll get 10 back. And then that will entitle him to draw a poker card. Now, if there are other players in the town when that poker action is taken, they can also join into the game. The only other character we've got here is Calamity Jane. Now, Calamity Jane doesn't have any poker cards, so she would only be getting the one for the $10 ante, so she probably won't get involved in this. So we're going to be playing against the house. So right now, there's $10 in the kitty for our ante. The house is always going to put in $50 on top of that to sweeten the pot. So right now, the pot is worth $60. Now, since there are no other player characters involved in the hand, the house is going to get 4 cards. So we will give the house 4 cards. And now we're going to reveal 3 cards for the flop. So we will reveal 3 cards from the deck. Got 4 clubs, 4 of diamonds, and a 3 of spades. Now we're going to use the cards in our hand to try to make the best hand possible, and we'll see what we can do with that. Now, using the cards in our hand, we're going to attempt to make the best 5-card hand possible. Now, whatever cards we play, we're going to have to discard at the end of the turn. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to use this card here. We're going to use that for its ability. It's a bonus ability. It says if this card is played in a game of poker, you may treat this card as though it were any value. That's any value in our hand. Now this is the rest of our hand here. We've got 2 aces and a 5. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to use that card as an ace of hearts. So right now we have aces and 4s, because this is 2 aces and that's 2 4s. So we got 2 pair. Now the house is going to do the same, and we'll see what they can do with their 4 cards You can play up to 2 of these to make the best hand possible. And they have a joker, king, a 2, and an 8. Now that joker can be used as any card or any suit that we choose. So in this case, the house is going to use that joker as a 4, and then they're going to have 3 of a kind. And as we know from poker hands, 3 of a kind beats 2 pair. So the house has won. So the house has won this hand. Money is going to be collected, put back into the supply, and then all the cards are going to be discarded. Now, if we could have won that hand, we would have gained a legendary point. But as the dealer has won, we gain no reward. Normally, if you lose at the hand of poker, you don't gain anything other than you do get to draw a poker card, but not in this case because the dealer has won. And that's going to bring Doc Holliday's turn to a close. We would now move on to the end of turn phase. Here we're going to resolve any story cards that have the requisite number of discs on them. In this case, we didn't fulfill any of those. We would discard down to our hand size. In this case, Doc's got 2 cards left, so he's in good shape. His hand limit now is 5. And then, if we were wanted, we would gain legendary points based on which row that we occupy. And then we would check for the end of the game. If any player had the prerequisite number of legendary points, that would issue in the end of the game. The play will now pass to the player on the left, in this case, Calamity Jane. But before we do that, we have to resolve a Man in Black card. It says, after each player takes their turn, draw and resolve 1 card from the Man in Black deck. So let's do that. And that card is card number 10, that reads, place the Man in Black in the Red Falls Cabaret and do the following. If only 1 player is in Red Falls, they draw 2 poker cards and must play a game of poker against the Man in Black. The other player draws 4 cards and plays for the Man in Black. If the Man in Black wins, he gains 1 legendary point. If the player wins, they gain a legendary point and $50. The Man in Black wins and he ties. If both players are in Red Falls, they draw 2 poker cards and must play each other in a game of poker. The player that wins gains 1 LP and $50. If the players are tied, neither wins. If no player is in Red Falls, the Man in Black gains 1 legendary point. After resolving the above, shuffle all cards in the discard into the Man in Black deck. Okay. So we're going to move the Man in Black from the railroad station to the cabaret in Red Falls. Now, since we've got 2 players in Red Falls, they're going to be playing a game of poker between themselves. Each player is going to draw 2 poker cards. So 2 cards will go to Doc Holliday, and 2 cards will go to Calamity Jane. Now we're going to get our flop of 3 cards. Jack of Spades, 8 of Hearts, and an 8 of Diamonds. So we got a pair. All right. Doc Holliday now is going to play 2 cards, trying to make the best hand that he can. And he's going to play 2 aces. So he's got aces and 8s, the dead man's hand. Now we'll see what Calamity Jane is going to do. Calamity Jane has, the only 2 cards she has are jacks and 2s. So she'll make a 2 pair as well, jacks and 8s. But Doc Holliday's aces and 8s are going to beat her. So Doc Holliday will win the hand. All of these cards are going to be discarded. And then Doc Holliday is going to gain a legendary point and $50. So we'll give Doc Holliday $50, and then we're going to move his track up on the legendary track. Doc is the red player, so we'll move his red cube up 1, and he's got 1 legendary point now. We've given Doc the $50. That moves him up to a total of $80, and you're able to hold a total of $120 in cash maximum. And per that Man in Black card, that gets shuffled back into the Man in Black deck, it says. And that's going to complete Doc Holliday's turn. We'll move on to Calamity Jane. Now, Calamity Jane begins the game with $20, but she doesn't have any poker cards. Her legendary cards consist of discard 1 provisions at the rail station to complete the goal, discard a poker card after winning a game of poker at the Dark Rock Saloon to complete the goal, and discard a poker card after you rustle or wrangle cattle to complete the goal. Okay. So at the start of her turn, I think most likely she's going to take 2 poker cards. That seems to be the best. She doesn't have any of those, and those are extremely valuable. She draws a king and a queen. Okay, it's a pretty solid, very powerful cards. So now we have to decide what she's going to do with her 3 actions. Now, one option for her would be to challenge the Man in Black. Now, the Man in Black is very powerful. His first special ability is he's going to reduce the value of any card that you play against him in a duel by 1. So if you were to play an ace against him, it's going to count as a king. In addition, the Man in Black is going to be drawing 3 cards from the fight deck, so he's pretty tough guy. I think probably if she wanted to get into some scuffle with someone, it'd probably be Doc Holliday. She knows that Doc played 2 aces in that poker game, so it's unlikely that he has another ace in his hand. So her king that she has would probably stand up pretty good. But I think she's going to go a different route. We're going to start her turn out. She'll take an action, and she's going to interact with the general store. Now, she's got $20 to spend, and I think what she's going to do is spend that $20. She's going to pick up a whiskey and a miner's map. The whiskey says, after you gain this, lose a wound. After you end a move action in a space with another player, you may discard this to give the player in your space 1 wound. So that's kind of powerful. The miner's map is after you prospect for gold, you can re-roll 1 of your prospecting dice. So we're going to add those items into her item area on her card. Now, during your turn, you can take what's known as a move action. And if you have no mount, you can move 2 spaces, adjacent spaces, on the board. If you have a mount, you use the value listed on the mount for the movement points. In this case, Calamity Jane is unmounted. So I think what we're going to have her do, she's going to spend her second action. She's going to move 2 movement points, and she's going to challenge that bandit there. Now, normally when you challenge someone, a player character, it costs an action to initiate that. But in the case of a bandit, there's no cost in actions. Now, when she enters the space with the bandit, her movement immediately ends, and then a fight is going to be initiated. To resolve the fight with a bandit, the active player is going to choose one of their poker cards to play. And I think she's definitely going to be playing this King of Hearts. So we'll put that face down for Calamity Jane. Now we're using an expansion called the Banded Card Variant. So what we do is we're going to examine the number on the bottom of the bandit, and that is going to have some effects in the game. We find out that this bandit is a 5, and that is a desperado. All right. So what we do is we're going to take this bandit deck and we're going to resolve the top card looking at number 5 result, because that was a desperado. And reading that card, it says a player that loses to this bandit loses 1 gold nugget. Well, fortunately for Calamity Jane, she doesn't have any gold at this point, but that's what the effect would be. Now, the bandit is going to draw 2 cards from the fight deck, and it's going to play one of those 2 cards. Now, the bandit is actually controlled by the player to Calamity Jane's right, but the 2 cards that were drawn for the bandit are a 3 and an 8. So the Buffalo Bill Cody character would be deciding which of those cards to play. And generally, lower the card, the more penalty that there is on the opponent. The higher the card will sometimes often give a benefit to the opponent. Now in this case, the choices are an 8 or a 3. The other player in this fight gains a wound. The other player in this fight gains 2 wounds. So that player would have to decide which card they're going to play. Since we're playing solitaire, I think the best thing we could probably do is just take these 2 cards, shuffle them up, and we'll play a card randomly. And in this case, they've played the card a 3. The other card will be discarded, and we'll reveal the card we played for Calamity, and she's won. She's got a king, opponent has a 3. So she's won that fight. Now, unfortunately, the other player in this fight gains 2 wounds, so Calamity is going to be gaining 2 wounds from this. But she's won the fight. In either case, no matter what, whether winning or losing, the bandit is removed from the board and can return at a future time. Now, since she's won this fight, she can choose to gain either a legendary point or a martial point. And in this case, I think she's going to take the martial point. So we're going to place a white cube on space 1 of the martial track, and that's going to entitle her to $20 reward. Now the thing with the martial track and the wanted track, you can only be on either none of the tracks or one of them. So in this case, since Calamity Jane has chosen to go on to the martial track, she can't be on the wanted track at the same time. Now, if you're a marshal on the martial track and you commit something that would cause you to go onto the wanted track, you lose whatever level you've got on the martial track. If she was at level 8, she would lose that and become level 1 or 2 or whatever on the wanted track. But in this case, she's level 1 on the martial track and she'll earn $20. So we'll give Calamity $20. Now she's used 2 actions right now. The one action was at the general store, and then she used an action to move and confront the bandit. So she has 1 action left, and I think she'll take a move action, and we'll have her move 2 spaces towards probably this prospecting area. So we'll have her move 1 and 2. Now she's ended her turn outside of the town area. Town area is anything inside this darker black line. So she's ended her turn outside of that area. And examining our story cards, we find out that one of them says end your turn at a location outside of town. So she qualifies for that, and she'll place one of her white roundels on that card. Now, since we're playing a 3-player game, as soon as another player puts a roundel on there, we would resolve that story card, and then any player that has a disc on there will probably gain a benefit. Her next step would be to discard number of poker cards to her hand limit. Her hand limit right now is 5, but she has 2 wounds, so her hand limit is 3 right now. She only has 1 poker card, so she's fine for right now. Next, she would check if she was wanted, and if she was on the wanted track, she would gain a number of LPs equal to the row that she's in. So if Calamity Jane, say, would have had a wanted level of 2, she'd be earning 1 LP each turn. And then next we would check for the end of the game if anyone had enough legendary points to equal where the time clock is. In this case, turn 15, we would institute the end of game procedure. Every player will take 1 final turn, and then we would add up the legendary points and see who wins. But that ain't the case yet. Now, since it's the end of Calamity Jane's turn, we have to resolve a Man in Black card. So we'll turn over the top Man in Black card. And that reads, place the Man in Black in Bandit Hideout B in Dixon Creek. If there is a bandit there, remove the bandit. The Man in Black gains 1 legendary point, and each player without a wound gains a wound. And the flavor text reads, funny thing, to get from Dark Rock to Red Falls, you have to figure out how to get past Dixon Creek. Kind of like you have to figure out how to get past me. Interesting. You'll also notice that on the card it shows a bandit with a letter symbol. And that's going to spawn a bandit in that location after the card is resolved. And so the man in black is going to move to Dixon Creek, and there's a bandit there. So that bandit is going to be removed, and the man in black is going to gain a legendary point. So the man in black now is equal to Doc Holliday. It also says each player without a wound is going to gain a wound. So that means that both Doc Holliday and Buffalo Bill Cody are going to have a wound placed on them. Calamity Jane already had 2 wounds, so she won't gain anymore. And now examining that card, we're going to place a bandit in location C. Now each bandit location there's 2 locations for each letter. We've got 2 C's, 2 A's, and 2 B's. So to fulfill this, we're going to take one of those bandits and place them at location C. You can only place them where there are no bandits or player characters. And that's going to bring Calamity Jane's turn to a close. We'll move on to Buffalo Bill Cody. He's currently at the ranch in Macedo's Point. Buffalo Bill Cody has a mule, which is going to increase his movement rate by 3. It also says he can carry 2 additional gold nuggets, and he has a revolver. His starting poker card is a 6 of hearts, and that's Stick 'em Up. It's a reaction card. After cards are revealed in a fight, play this card from hand to decrease the value of a card played against you by 2. So that's a pretty good card in that case. His legendary cards include discard a poker card after you rustle or wrangle cattle to complete the goal, discard a poker card after winning a fight outside of a town to complete the goal, or discard 1 poker card after winning a game of poker at the Red Falls Saloon to complete the goal. Okay. Now Buffalo Bill does not have any cash, so I think his best bet would be to probably take $10 and a poker card. We'll do that. And we'll see what actions he's going to take. And I think Buffalo Bill Cody is going to do a little wrangling. So what he'll do is his first action will be to wrangle cattle. He's going to gain the top cattle token. And we'll place that on his card. That's his first action. Now to wrangle cattle, you want to get them to the train station. If you want to rustle cattle, you want to take that to the other ranch. You're basically stealing those cows and delivering them to a different brand. Now, Buffalo Bill has a mule, so his movement is 3. So I think what he's going to do is he'll try to take those cattle that he got towards the railroad station. So we'll have him move 3 spaces. And he's going to move 1, 2, and 3. That'll be his second action. And for Buffalo Bill's third action, he's going to do another move. And he will move 1, 2, and 3 to the railroad station. Now when you're wrangling, it says after a player ends their move action at the rail station, they may deliver their cattle token to gain 1 marshal point and the reward listed on the back of the cattle token. This does not require an action. Delivered cattle tokens are shuffled into their respective ranch. So in this case, Wild Bill is going to gain 1 point on the marshal track. So we'll place Wild Bill's cube on the marshal track, and he's going to earn $20 for that. So we'll give Wild Bill $20, and then he's going to be able to reveal what's on the back of the cattle token that he is wrangling. We'll flip that over. And that says, gain $30 and draw 1 poker card. Okay. So he'll get an extra 30 and a poker card. That's great. We'll take that cattle token and shuffle that back into the stack of green cattle tokens. And now Buffalo Bill has ended his turn outside of a town area. So checking our story cards, it says end your turn at a location outside of town. So we're going to place one of Wild Bill's roundels on that card. And now we've got the prerequisite number of roundels to resolve that card during his end of turn phase. And that is what is going to happen next. We'll begin by resolving that card. So these roundels will be placed back into the supply. And then we will turn that card over and see what it says. That says Bushwhacker. And so we'll read the flavor text on this Bushwhacker card. That says, they come out from behind the rocks with their guns drawn. The fella in charge levels the barrel of his six-shooter at your head. In his eyes, you see the dim light of a man that's not only killed, but that enjoys the sport of it. Any other day, you'd have taken your chances by pulling steel, but today's not a good day to chance it. All right. So that says players that contributed to this may discard one poker card to draw two poker cards. Players that did not contribute to this lose $10 or gain a wound. All right. So that means both players, other than Doc Holliday, can discard a card to gain two poker cards. And I think Calamity Jane will do that. She'll discard a card and gain two. And Buffalo Bill will just keep the cards he has. Now as for Doc Holliday, instead of taking the wound, he is going to surrender $10. All right, so that resolves the text portion of that. Now it says we have to spawn bandits, and we're going to spawn one in C. Well, both C locations are filled up, so we won't use that. The bottom of the card, it says the player that triggered this moves the sheriff up to 3 spaces. All right. Well, none of the player characters are on the wanted track, so the sheriff will not go after the man in black. He kind of leaves him alone. So I don't know if we would want to move the sheriff or not. Now Buffalo Bill is the player that triggered that card. So he could move the sheriff if he chose to. And well, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get him a little closer towards some of the other player characters in case they attempt to pull some type of stunt. So I guess we'll move him 1, 2, and 3. We'll have him kind of guard the bank. All right. Next, the character will have to discard down to his hand limit. Buffalo Bill Cody has 1 wound, so his hand limit is 4. He's got 3 cards right now, so he's in good shape. Character isn't wanted, so he won't earn any points for that. And no one has reached the end of game marker yet with their legendary points. So we would proceed to the next player, which would be Doc Holliday. Now one thing I should point out is the difference between that wanted track and the martial track. On the wanted track, you have less benefits within the actual scoring on the track, but each turn you would gain a legendary point depending upon what row you're in. That would be each turn. The martial track gives you better benefits directly, but these legendary points are only scored at the end of the game, so it's only a one-time benefit. On both tracks, if you gain more than 9 points, you would gain a legendary point instead. Same for the wanted track. The problem is once you're on the wanted track, the other players are probably going to be wanting to come after you because you're earning victory points every turn for being on that track, whereas on the marshal track, you're only going to earn those at the end of the game, and you really cannot leave the marshal track unless you commit something like robbing the bank or robbing another player character that would cause you to lose that points you have on the marshal track and go to the wanted track. So those are kind of the differences between those. It's basically a style consideration. And now Buffalo Bill has to resolve a Man in Black card. So we'll turn that over and see what it says. It says place the Man in Black in Bandit Hideout B in Sunny Hills. If there is a bandit there, remove that bandit. The Man in Black gains 1 LP. And each player without a wound gains a wound. And that reads, only God can judge, but it's my job to arrange the meeting. All right, and then we're going to be placing a bandit on location A if it's available. So first step is to move the Man in Black to Hideout B in Sunny Hills. So Man in Black is going to move to Sunny Hills, Hideout B, and he's going to displace that bandit. Now we have to check if there is an empty space in A to place another bandit, and both of those are filled, so we won't do any more than that. And that'll complete Buffalo Bill Cody's turn. So Doc Holliday is up next. Let's take a look at what cards he has. He currently has quite a bit of money. He's got $70. And that's another thing too. You don't want to be walking around with too much money because people are going to rob you. So you want to try to use that kind of as quickly as possible. His other cards are, he's got a 5 and a 7. He's got Reputation, which is a reaction card. And he has Payday, which allows him to gain $30. So he'll keep those cards. Now we have to decide what he wants to do for his start of turn. And I think probably the best thing he could do would be to take 2 playing cards, 2 poker cards. So we'll give him 2 poker cards, and he's drawn a 3 and 4 of hearts. He's got Manhunt and Sprint. Okay. Now we'll do his actions. I think Doc Holliday is going to convert some of that cash he has into some supplies. So we're going to go to the general store. He'll do a move action to start, and he'll move 1 and 2. For his second action, he's going to do some shopping at the general store. He'll interact with the location. I think his first action is going to be to upgrade his revolver. If you want to upgrade a card, you pay that cost 1 more time, and then you can flip it over. In this case, it is Justice. It's worth 1 legendary point at the end of the game. After cards are revealed in a fight, decrease the value of a card played against you by 1. So that's a good card. So that'll cost him $20 to do that action. And we'll place that back on his display. All right. I think next he's going to purchase a Mustang. It's going to cost him $50, but that's going to increase his movement rate to 4. So he'll pay $50, and then we'll add that Mustang to his display. And I think for his third action, he's going to do a move action. Now, he has a movement of 4 now with that Mustang. So he'll move 1, 2, and 3, and he's going to try to go after that bandit. So Doc Holliday will play one of his poker cards. Now we got to find out what is the status of that bandit. He is number 5, and that is a Desperado. Okay. So next we're going to draw a card from the Bandit Card Variant deck. And we'll look at number 5 on this entry. It says, at the end of this fight, you may resolve the effect on a fight card that was not played. All right. And finally, that bandit is going to draw 2 fight cards, and he's going to play 1 of them. So he's got 2 fight cards, and we're just going to randomly pick one of those and see what the strength is. We'll start out with Doc Holliday. Now Doc Holliday is using that Justice pistol, and that's going to reduce the value of whatever card the opponent plays by 1. So for right now, Doc Holliday plays a 7. And I think we'll select this card and see what the Bandit is playing. The Bandit plays a 2. And you can't reduce that any lower, so it's a 2. So Doc Holliday has won that gunfight. And it says here, the other player in this fight gains a wound and loses an LP. Well, that's not good. So Doc Holliday is going to gain a wound, and he loses 1 legendary point. That is not good. All right. Now this card says, at the end of this fight, you may resolve the effect on a fight card that was not played. And we'll see if there's something that he might want to do. And so Doc Holliday has won that fight against the Bandit, and that will entitle him to gain an LP or a Marshal point. And I think he will take the LP, so we'll move him back to 1 where he was. It's unfortunate that that card was played where he lost an LP, but that's what happened. The Bandit now is removed from the board, and that is going to end Doc Holliday's turn. Doc Holliday qualifies for one of the face-up cards here. It says, end your turn at a location outside of town. So Doc Holliday is going to place 1 roundel on that card. Now Doc Holliday will resolve a Man in Black card. Let's see what happens here. And that says, place the Man in Black in the same space as the player with the most legendary points. The Man in Black fights that player. If the Man in Black wins, he gains 2 LP. If the player is wanted, they are also arrested. If the players are tied for the most LP, the Man in Black gains 1 LP instead. And in that case, Doc Holliday right now is tied with the Man in Black. So I guess that means if the players are tied. No, he's not. So in that case, the Man in Black is going to fight Doc Holliday. He has the most legendary points. So the Man in Black will move to Doc Holliday's location, and they're going to have a gunfight. And incidentally, the flavor text on the Man in Black card says, I heard tales about you. Of course, now I see with my own eyes. I'm going to assume they were all tall tales. All right. So we're going to have a gunfight. Doc Holliday is using his Justice pistol. That'll reduce the strength of the Man in Black by 1. And the Man in Black does the same. That's part of his normal operations. He decreases the value of a card played by another player. So Doc Holliday is going to play a card. Man in Black is going to be drawing 3 cards from the deck. So we'll give him 3 cards. All right. And I guess what we're going to do is we'll just shuffle this up and draw one of those 3. That's the Man in Black card. All right. Now we'll reveal the cards, and each side is going to lose 1 point because of their various abilities. Man in Black has an ace. And Doc Holliday has a 5, so he's lost. There's no doubt about that. So in this case, Doc Holliday is going to take his 3rd wound, and he gets to draw 1 poker card. That's what happens when you get defeated. Man in Black is going to gain 2 legendary points. So the Man in Black increases himself. He's up to 3 now, and he's leading the pack. All right, Doc Holliday now has to discard down to his maximum hand size. His maximum hand size is -3. So he can only have 2 cards, and he has to discard one of these cards. And I guess he's going to discard a sprint card. And he'll keep the 3 and 4 that he's got in his hand. All right, those wounds are pretty bad because that affects your hand size, and those cards are everything in the game. All right, nobody has reached the end of game marker yet, so we'll continue on with Calamity Jane. All right, Calamity Jane, she has $20 in cash and 2 cards. She's got a 10 and a 7. All right. I think she's going to take $10 and 1 poker card. So we will give her the $10 and an extra poker card. All right. Okay, I think for her first action, she is going to move. She'll move into that prospecting area by the river. Next, she's going to roll the prospecting dice. Okay, she has a $sign, and she's got a $sign with a re-roll action. Let's see what those mean. First one says that she's going to gain $10. The other one is gain $10 and re-roll the die. All right, so she's got $20 right now. We'll give that to her. And she can re-roll this dice. And that's the same thing. Another $10. And she gets to re-roll it. Once again, another $10 with another re-roll. That time she's got a gold nugget. So we'll give her a gold nugget. Now she can use her miner's map, and she's going to re-roll this die. And she's got a gold nugget. So she's got 2 nuggets. And she earns some cash on the side. The cash represents like gold dust, I guess. The nuggets would be a more substantial deposit. Now that miner's map is just retained. It's not discarded. All right. All right, so we've placed those gold nuggets in her gold pan here. You can hold a total of 4 of those. She's got 2 right now. And I think for her third action, she's going to do a move action. And we'll have her move 2 spaces. And she'll move 1 and 2. All right. She's going to end her turn outside of town, and so we'll mark her with a white roundel in the end your turn at a location outside of town story card. And now she's going to resolve Man in Black card. This one says, place the Man in Black in the Red Falls Cabaret and do the following. If only one player is in Red Falls, then draw 2 poker cards. And we've had that one before. That's card number 10. There's no one in Red Falls. So it says at the bottom, if no player is in Red Falls, the Man in Black gains an LP. And then after resolving the above, shuffle all cards into the discard for the Man in Black deck. Okay. So the Man in Black will move to the Cabaret. And he's going to increase himself by 1 on the LP chart. So we move him up 1. He's up to 4 now. All right, Calamity Jane has 2 wounds. So she has a hand limit of 3 cards, and that's what she's got, 3 cards. That'll bring her turn to a close, and we'll move on to Buffalo Bill Cody. Buffalo Bill has $60 in cash and 3 poker cards, a queen, a 10, and a 6. So I think what he's going to do is he's going to draw $10 and a poker card. That'll be his start of the turn phase. Now let's see what he wants to do with his actions. He's got a lot of money to spend. He's got a mule, so they'll give him a movement points, 3 movement points, and I think he'll start with a movement action. And he will move 1, 2, and 3. All right. He'll take a second movement action and move, I think, into the general store. So we'll have him move 1, 2, and then go into the general store. For his third action, he'll do some shopping. I think for $20, he's going to upgrade his revolver to the Persuader. After cards are revealed in a fight, decrease the value of a card played against you by 1, and that's worth 1 legendary point. That'll cost him $20. All right. That leaves him with $50 left. And let's see what kind of items he could purchase. And I think he's going to buy a miner's map, bottle of whiskey, and some provisions. That'll cost him $40. So we'll have him pay $40 and we'll add those items to his display. That'll bring his actions to a close. We'll move on to the end of turn and we'll start with the Man in Black. So we'll turn over a Man in Black card. And that says, place the Man in Black in Bandit Hideout C in Spike's view. If there's a bandit there, remove the bandit and the Man in Black gains 1 LP. And both players discard a poker card. All right. That reads at the bottom, killing a fella's easy. It's digging a grave in all this sand that's hard. All right. So the Man in Black is going to move to space C in Spike's view, and that'll kick out that bandit. And that's going to earn him 1 LP, moving him up to 5 LPs right now. Card also says we should place a bandit in space A. Well, both of those are covered, so there won't be any of that. That'll cover the Man in Black's card. We'll finish up Buffalo Bill's end of turn phase. All right, Buffalo Bill has 1 wound, so that gives him a hand limit of 4 cards, and that's what he has, 4 cards. All right. Now we got to resolve some story cards, or a story card. This card actually should have been resolved during Calamity Jane's turn, but we'll do it now. We'll see what it says. The card is Coyotes. Okay, let's read that card. And that says, packs of coyotes lurk just outside the dim lamplight of town. They yip and howl, cries of their prey echoing and then suddenly silent. All right. That says players that contributed to this draw a poker card. Players that did not contribute to this discard 1 random poker card or lose a cattle token. All right, that's very thematic. The coyotes would be taking the cattle. All right. Well, the players that contributed were Doc Holliday and Calamity Jane. So each of them will gain a poker card. And then it says the players that didn't contribute, in this case Buffalo Bill Cody, has to lose a random poker card. So we will just shuffle his up and we'll take one of them out. All right. Next, we have to spawn bandits now in A and C. Well, A and C are filled. There's either a player character or a bandit there already, so that won't happen. Then it says the player who triggered this moves the sheriff up to 3 spaces. Okay, that's going to be Buffalo Bill Cody again, and we'll see what he wants to do. We don't have any wanted characters, so we'll see where he wants to move the sheriff, if at all. And I think the best thing he could do is probably move that sheriff to Dixon Creek. And that's kind of a central area where the players would be moving into and through to get to Dark Rock or Red Falls. So we'll put him there. And that's going to bring Buffalo Bill Cody's turn to a close. And I think we're going to be bringing this playthrough to a close. This was meant just as an introduction to show the viewers what the game looks like and for me to get a little experience in this. I have come to the conclusion that we are going to definitely need some solo rules. It's fun by just playing each character separately, but I think it'll be better if we can have some solo rules for, depending upon the other two or three players that we'll be playing against. I think that would be more fun. I definitely like the inclusion of the Man in Black. That is a very good mechanism, and that's something that all the players would be kind of fighting against. And although we didn't use them, the legendary points that we can gain from legendary tokens are quite interesting. They gave a little bag in one of the expansions for the legendary tokens. I'll show you those since we didn't get a chance to see those. But basically they are a set of tokens that have legendary token on one side and a certain value on the other. Now what you would do is, if you obtained one of these, you would keep this secret from the other players. They won't know the value of that token. And then you would place that on your display, and at the end of the game, that could change the outcome of the final scoring, because the other players can't really tell how many points those would be worth. It could be up to 3. Each of those could be 3. That's 9 legendary points potentially. That could make a big difference in the game. So I think I'll bring the video to a close here. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on some solitaire rules for this game. And when I complete those, we'll come back to the game and try them out, put them through their paces and see how they work out. I hope I can do this without too much difficulty. So this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, thanking everyone for tuning into the channel and wishing everyone a pleasant evening and happy gaming. Good night.